If you're retired in California, New York, or anywhere in the US right now, there's a shocking reality most people are completely unaware of, and it could be quietly draining thousands of dollars from your annual income without you even realizing it. We're talking about up to $5,000 every single year that many retirees are unknowingly missing out on due to overlooked benefits, outdated claims, and recent changes in state-level support programs. And the worst part? Most people only find out when it's too late to recover that money. From adjustments in cost of living calculations to hidden eligibility rules in Social Security-related supplements, even a small mistake or missed update can create a serious gap in your retirement income. Whether you're living on a fixed pension, Social Security, or a combination of both, these changes could directly impact your monthly budget for essentials like rent, groceries, and medical care. But here's the good news. Once you understand what's happening, you can take steps to protect yourself and potentially recover what you're owed. In this video, we're breaking it all down in simple terms so you can see exactly where that money might be slipping away and how to stop it. So don't miss a second of this, and make sure to hit the like button right now to stay informed and protect your retirement income. So here's what most people don't realize once they step into retirement. The moment your paycheck stops, your financial system doesn't just freeze in place. It starts shifting quietly in the background. Rules change, benefit calculations get updated, state-level supplements get adjusted, and sometimes even small administrative details that nobody pays attention to can slowly start affecting how much money actually lands in your account each month. And the strange part is, most retirees never see it happening in real time. Let's start with something very simple but often overlooked. Retirement income in states like California and New York is not just about Social Security. It's a combination of multiple layers: federal benefits, possible state supplements, cost of living adjustments, healthcare-related deductions, and in some cases, income-linked reductions that are triggered automatically based on outdated information. Now imagine one of those layers being slightly miscalculated. Not dramatically wrong, just slightly off. That small gap, repeated over 12 months, can quietly add up to hundreds or even thousands of dollars without any obvious warning sign. Now here's where things get even more interesting. Many retirees assume their benefits are set and stable, meaning once they start receiving them, everything is locked in permanently. But in reality, retirement systems are constantly recalibrated. Cost of living adjustments change almost every year. Eligibility thresholds are updated, and income reporting systems sometimes rely on data that may not fully reflect your current financial situation. If something hasn't been updated correctly in your file, it can affect your monthly payment without you being directly notified in a clear way. Think about how many people move, switch banks, adjust Medicare plans, or even take on small part-time work after retirement. Each of these changes can trigger administrative updates across multiple systems. And when those systems don't sync properly, you don't always get a clear message saying something is wrong. Instead, it just shows up as slightly lower monthly deposits or missed supplemental adjustments that never arrive. Now let's talk about something even more important: benefit optimization. This is a concept most retirees don't even hear about until much later. The idea is simple. Your retirement benefits are not always automatically maximized. In many cases, you actually have to actively ensure you're receiving every adjustment and supplement you qualify for. That includes state-specific support programs, federal adjustments, and sometimes even retroactive payments that require follow-up or verification. In states with higher living costs like California and New York, these adjustments matter even more. Why? Because the baseline cost of essentials like housing, utilities, healthcare, and transportation is significantly higher. That means even small miscalculations in your benefit structure can feel much larger in real life. A missing adjustment of just a few $100s per year might not sound dramatic on paper, but for someone on a fixed income, that can be the difference between financial comfort and constant stress. And here's something many people don't consider at all. Some benefit changes are not automatically applied unless your records are fully updated or reviewed. That means if there's outdated income data, incorrect household status, or even a missed verification step from years ago, it can quietly continue affecting your payments long after the original issue happened. Most retirees never revisit their original filing details once they start receiving benefits, and that's exactly where gaps can form over time. Another layer to understand is how inflation adjustments are applied. Cost of living increases are designed to help retirees keep up with rising expenses, but they are not always perfectly aligned with real-world inflation in every region. This means that while your benefit may technically increase, your actual purchasing power might not improve at the same rate. In high-cost states, this gap can feel even more noticeable. Now, let's go a bit deeper into why some retirees end up missing out on thousands over time. It often comes down to timing and awareness. Many adjustments, credits, or corrections are not automatically backdated unless they are specifically reviewed or requested. So if an update should have applied 2 years ago but wasn't processed correctly, it may simply remain uncorrected unless someone identifies it. Over time, that accumulates into a significant amount. And the frustrating part is that none of this usually shows up as an obvious error. There's no flashing warning on your account. There's no big notification saying you're missing money. Instead, it's subtle, a slightly lower monthly deposit than expected, a cost of living increase that feels smaller than previous years, a benefit adjustment that never quite reflects what you were told you would receive. Now consider how many retirees are managing multiple systems at once: Social Security, pension accounts, healthcare deductions, supplemental state programs, and sometimes even survivor or spousal benefits. Each system operates with its own rules, timelines, and update cycles. When all of these overlap, even a small mismatch in data can create long-term discrepancies. This is why awareness is so important. Not because something dramatic is happening overnight, but because small, quiet inconsistencies can build up over years without being noticed, and once they are finally discovered, they often trace back to something simple that was never corrected or reviewed. Another important factor is life changes after retirement. Things like relocation, changes in marital status, or even adjustments in dependency status can all influence benefit calculations. If these updates are not fully reflected across all systems, your payment structure might not accurately represent your current situation. And again, this doesn't always trigger an immediate alert or correction. There's also the issue of supplemental programs that vary by state. Some retirees qualify for additional support based on income levels, living arrangements, or healthcare needs, but they may not automatically be enrolled in these programs. In some cases, eligibility exists on paper, but without active review or application, the benefit is never actually received. And here's where things can get frustrating for many people. The system isn't necessarily hiding money. It's just structured in a way where accuracy depends heavily on data alignment and timely updates. If anything in that chain is slightly outdated or incomplete, it can affect the final outcome without being obvious. Now imagine this over a span of 5 or 10 years. Even small inconsistencies, when repeated monthly, can create a noticeable financial gap. That's where the idea of thousands of dollars over time becomes very real. Not because of a single mistake, but because of many small ones that accumulate quietly. What makes this even more important right now is that retirement systems are becoming more data-driven and automated. While that improves efficiency, it also means that errors or outdated information can persist longer unless they are actively reviewed. Automation is powerful, but it still depends on accurate input data. So what does all of this mean for someone currently retired or about to retire? It means paying attention to your benefit statements is more important than ever. Not in a stressful or overwhelming way, but in a simple, consistent way. Just making sure the numbers you see actually match what you expect based on your situation. It also means understanding that retirement income is not a completely static system. It evolves over time, even if it feels like it shouldn't. And because of that, staying informed is not just helpful. It can directly impact your financial stability. Many retirees only discover these kinds of gaps when they compare past and present statements side by side, or when they speak to someone who has reviewed their full benefit history in detail. That's often when they notice small differences that never made sense before. And once those differences are identified, The next step is usually clarification and correction. But the key point is that awareness comes first. Without noticing the pattern, there's no reason to investigate further. At the end of the day, retirement should feel stable and predictable, not uncertain or confusing. But the reality is that the system relies on continuous accuracy, and even minor oversights can slowly affect long-term income. That's why staying aware of how your benefits are structured, updated, and calculated can make a meaningful difference over time. And as we continue through this topic, it becomes even more important to understand where these gaps typically occur, how they can be identified early, and what steps can be taken to make sure nothing is slipping through unnoticed. So when you look at everything together, the key takeaway is actually simpler than it first appears. Most of these issues don't come from one major failure or a sudden policy change that everyone notices at the same time. Instead, they come from small gaps that form quietly over time, tiny differences in records, missed updates, or benefit adjustments that were never fully applied. On their own, none of these seem dramatic. But when they accumulate month after month, year after year, they can turn into a meaningful amount of money that many retirees never realized they were missing in the first place. And that's really the main concern here. Not that retirement systems are broken, but that they are complex enough that small inconsistencies can go unnoticed unless someone takes a closer look. Especially for retirees in high-cost states like California and New York, where every dollar matters more due to housing, healthcare, and daily living expenses, even a relatively small gap in annual benefits can feel significant over time. The important thing to understand is that this isn't about panic or fear. It's about awareness. Because once you understand how these systems operate, you're in a much better position to recognize when something doesn't quite match your expectations. A slightly lower payment, an adjustment that feels smaller than usual, or a benefit increase that doesn't align with inflation trends. These are the kinds of details that are easy to overlook if you're not actively paying attention. What many retirees eventually realize is that staying informed is just as important as receiving the benefits themselves. Retirement income is not something you set once and forget forever. It's something that continues to interact with changing rules, updated systems, and personal life changes. And when those elements are not perfectly aligned, small differences can quietly appear. The good news is that none of this is permanent or out of your control. In most cases, these kinds of issues can be reviewed, clarified, and corrected once they are identified. But the first step is always noticing that something may need a closer look. Without that awareness, the gap simply continues unnoticed. So whether you're already retired or preparing for retirement in the near future, the real value comes from staying engaged with your own financial picture. Not in an overwhelming way, but in a consistent and simple way. Just making sure what you're receiving matches what you believe you're entitled to based on your situation and the rules that apply to you. Because at the end of the day, retirement should feel secure, stable, and predictable. And while the system itself is designed to support that, it still depends on accurate information and ongoing alignment to work as intended. When those pieces are in place, everything runs smoothly. When they're slightly off, even in small ways, the effects can build quietly over time. That's why understanding how these gaps form and knowing they exist at all is already a powerful step toward protecting your retirement income.